Good Shabbos, Shabbat Shalom. Welcome to the Lehrman Chapel here at Temple Ohev Sholem in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. I'm Rabbi Kessler. I'm joined by our organist and musical director, Prestia, and we are about to bring Shabbat into your homes. But first, let's take a cleansing breath and let go of all of the aggravation of the past week. Wonderful. And if you have your prayer books handy, let's turn to page 121 as we welcome Shabbat by lighting our candles. As these Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them, so may we, by our lives, give light to all who behold us. As their brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel who have kindled light, so may we, in our own day, be among those who kindle light. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat. Let's see if these will cooperate. Great. Let's continue on page 126. I begin with a prayer of gratitude for all that is holy in my life. God needs no words, no English or Hebrew, no semantics, and no services. But I need them. Through prayer, I can use my inner strength, my inner purpose, my inner joy, my capacity to love. As I reach upward in prayer, I sense these qualities in my Creator. To love God is to love each other. To work to make our lives better. To love God is to love the world God created, and to work to perfect it. To love God is to love dreams of peace and joy that illumine all of us, and to bring that vision to life. L'chadodi is on page 138. Let's rise and continue with Baruch, page 146. Paro ma'ariv aravim, ve'chochma poteach she'arim, uvitfuna mishane itim, umachalif et hazmanim, umisader et ha'kochavim, b'mishmarotehem barakia kirtsono. Borei yom v'layla, golel or mipnei choshech, v'choshech mipnei or. Uma'avir yom umevi layla, umavdil ben yom uvein layla, Adonai tzevaot shemo. El chai v'kayam, tamid yimloch aleinu leolam va'ed, baruch ata Adonai, hama'ariv aravim. Page 151. Wisdom and wonder, passion and instruction, story and symbol, all these things your Torah gives to us. And the more we devote ourselves to it, the more it grows and gives. What could be a truer token of your abiding love than this holiest of your works and the living language that gives it form? Baruch ata Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael. The Shema is on page 152. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Vaed. Please be seated. Let's turn to page 154 and continue together with Ve'ahavta. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol meyodecha ve'hayu ha'devarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam b'shivtecha b'veitecha uv'lechtecha v'derech uv'shochbecha uv'kumecha ukshartam leot al yadecha v'hayu letotafot b'neinecha uktavtam al mezuzot beitecha u'visharecha Leman tizkeru va'asitem et kol mitzvotai v'item kedoshim le'Elohechem. Ani Adonai Elohechem asher hotzeiti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim lihiot lachem le'Elohim. Ani Adonai Elohechem. Page 157. In a world torn by violence and pain, a world far from wholeness and peace, give us the courage to say, Adonai, there is one God in heaven and earth. The high heavens declare your glory. May earth reveal your justice and love. From bondage in Egypt we were delivered. At Sinai we bound ourselves to your way. Inspired by prophets and instructed by sages, time and again we overcame oppressive forces. Though our failings are many and our faults are great, it has been our glory to bear witness to our God, keeping alive in dark ages your vision of a world redeemed. Let us continue to work for the day when the nations will be one and at peace. Then shall we rejoice as Israel did, singing on the shores of the sea.
Adonai,
continue together on page 161. Give us a place to rest, Adonai our God. Bring us into shelter in the soft, long evening shadows of your truth. For with you are true protection and safety, and in your presence are acceptance and gentle love. Watch over us as we go forth. Prepare for us as we return. Spread over us your shelter of peace over all we love, over our Jerusalem and yours. Baruch atah Adonai, haporei sukat shalom aleinu, ve'al kol amo Yisrael, ve'al Yerushalayim. V'shamru, page 162. V'shamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat l'dorotam berit olam. V'shamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat l'dorotam berit olam. B'ni u'ben b'nei Yisrael oti le'olam, oti le'olam. V'shamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat l'dorotam berit olam. Ki sheshet yamim asa Adonai, asa Adonai, et ha-shamayim ve'et ha'aretz. V'shamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat l'dorotam berit olam. U'bayom hashvi'i Shabbat vayirfash, Shabbat vayirfash, Shabbat vayitnafash. V'shamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat l'dorotam berit olam. V'shamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat l'dorotam berit olam. Let's continue with Tefillah on page 164. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu, v'Elohei avotenu v'imotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, v'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, v'Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomer Chasadim Tovim, V'konei HaKol, V'zocher Chasdei Avot V'imahot, U'mevii Geula Livnei Bneihem, Lema'an Shemo Be'ahava, Melech Ozer U'Moshiach U'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Abraham, Ve'ezrat Sarah. Page 171. Days pass and the years vanish, and we walk sightless among miracles. God, fill our eyes with seeing and our minds with knowing. Let there be moments when your presence, like lightning, illumines the darkness in which we walk. Help us to see wherever we gaze that the bush burns unconsumed, and we, clay touched by God, will reach out for holiness and exclaim in wonder, how filled with awe is this place, and we did not know it. Baruch atah Adonai ha'el hakadosh. Blessed is the Eternal One, the Holy God. Let's continue together on page 173. May these hours of rest and renewal open our hearts to joy and our minds to truth. May all who struggle find rest on this day. May all who suffer find solace. May all who hurt find healing on this day. May all who despair find purpose. May all who hunger find fulfillment on this day. And may this day fulfill its promise. Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh haShabbat. Page 175. You are with us in our prayer, our love, and our doubt, in our longing to feel your presence and do your will. You are the still, clear voice within us. Therefore, O God, when doubt troubles us, when anxiety makes us tremble, when pain clouds the mind, we look inward for the answer to our prayers. There may we find you, and there find courage, insight, and endurance. And let our worship bring us closer to one another, that all Israel and all who seek you may find new strength for your service. Baruch atah Adonai, she'otcha levadcha b'yirah na'avod. We continue now with Shalom Rav on page 178. Shalom Rav, O Yisrael Amcha, Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav, O Yisrael Amcha, Tasim Leolam. Ki atah hu melech Adon, lechol hashalom. Shalom Rav Shabbat Shalom. A Jewish holiday ended yesterday evening that teaches us many valuable lessons. It's called Tu BiShvat, which translates to the 15th day of the month of Shvat, the day on which it's observed. But the holiday is remembered as the birthday of the trees. People of my generation remember the holiday from our religious school days. When I was a kid, Israel was a young country, and it was imperative to plant trees in Israel to make the desert bloom and to help with the irrigation of the Israeli ecosystem. We would buy little stamps that we pasted on a form sent to us by the Jewish National Fund. Do you remember those little stamps, maybe? And when the form was completed, JNF would plant a tree in Israel in honor or in memory of anyone we chose. It was a lot of fun, and it was a great way to help Israel. I always thought that Tu BiShvat was created after Israel became a state, but recently I've learned that Tu BiShvat is really an ancient holiday. The Torah specifies how old a tree must be before its fruit may be eaten. So farmers used a universal birthday to help keep track of the age of their trees. And then in the 1500s, the Kabbalists imbued the holiday with a more spiritual significance. They saw the divine energy within nature and wrote about how physical forms like fruit, with a shell or a seed inside, often hide their divinity within themselves, in much the same way that people do. But today we celebrate Tu BiShvat as an important reminder of Tikkun Olam, taking care of our world and recognizing the importance of caring for our environment. Tu BiShvat isn't just a holiday for children or for taking care of the environment. It's a holiday that reminds us that God did not complete his work of creating the universe in 6 days, but left the world to us to complete by taking care of nature. It is a beautiful and spiritual reminder of our intimate connection to the earth and our responsibility to keep it clean and to nurture it for future generations. So how can we best observe this important holiday? Certainly by planting trees, by using less plastic and less electricity, by recycling and being aware that our world doesn't just belong to us, but belongs to the generations that will follow. Now, it may be difficult planting a tree in the middle of winter, but in Israel, the almond trees begin to bloom in early February, and spring comes much sooner than it does here in North America. But when the weather gets nicer, and we can spend more time outdoors, I hope we can remember to take care of our environment and to make the world a better place, and even to plant a tree. Shabbat Shalom. Now let's turn to page 371 and we'll ask God's blessings on those who are sick and in need of healing with the Mishaperach prayer. We ask God's blessings on those who are sick within our families and our friends, those who are in need of healing of mind and spirit during these difficult times, as well as those who are suffering through the effects of COVID-19. We also ask God's blessings on the caregivers in our midst, those who risk their own lives taking care of ours. We say, Baruch atah Adonai rofeh hacholim. We praise you, Adonai, our God, who heals the sick, and we say, Amen. Let's rise now and turn to page 586 as we continue with Aleinu. Page 593. The light of life is a finite flame. Like the Shabbat candles, life is kindled, it burns, it glows, it's radiant with warmth and beauty, but soon it fades, and its substance is consumed, and it is no more. In light we see, in light we are seen. The flames dance, and our life burns down and gutters. There is an end to the flames. We see no more and are no more seen. Yet we do not despair, for we are more than a memory slowly fading into the darkness. With our lives we give life. Something of us can never die. We move in the eternal cycle of darkness and death, of light and life. We turn now to those who have recently passed, as well as those whose yahrzeits are being observed on this Shabbat, as we recite the Mourner's Cottage on page 598. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, v'yomad divrach cheruteh v'yamlich malchuteh, v'chayechon u'vyomechon u'v'chayei l'chol Beit Yisrael, Bagalov izman kariv yimaru amen. Yehesh shemei rabach mevorach leolam omei omaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yithadar v'yitalev v'yitalal shemei kudsha barichu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata. Tushbachata v'nechemata. Da'amiran v'yama v'yimaru amen. Yehesh lama rabba min shemaya. V'chayim aleinu v'yakol Yisrael v'yimaru amen. V'seh shalom b'mromav v'ya'aseh shalom. Aleinu v'yakol Yisrael v'yimaru amen. May the source of peace send peace to all of us who mourn, and comfort to all who are bereaved. And we say, Amen. Our closing hymn is Adon Olam, and it's found on page 625.
Our God and God of our mothers and fathers, grant us a Shabbat filled with joy and rest, and a week ahead filled with good health and the promise of peace. Amen. Shabbat Shalom.